So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day I produced a Louis, had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track Xtra. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jon Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track Xtra, our Wednesday evening half show. In other words, it's half the length of the ordinary show, which is out on Saturday. And this week we've got a particularly special thing for you. What's the show all about, I hear you ask? Well, come on, you don't need me to carry on saying it's a weekly, bi-weekly, a potpourri of hard science, weird shit and surreality. Because you already knew that, didn't you? Well, we haven't done this for a while. But I always enjoy it when my old friend Richard Freeman is one of my closest friends. In fact, we're more like brothers than friends. When Richard Freeman comes up from Exeter to our humble abode here in North Devon, and we do a session of book reviews. And here we have the latest in these series of book reviews. What is it, Richie?
It's Between Ape and Human by Gregory Forth.
Now, this is going to be a slightly weird book review because I've not read it. So you're going to review it and I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to tell me not to be stupid if they're silly questions. So you ready to go, Rich?
I am.
Go.
Well, Gregory Forth is a anthropologist. He's a Canadian anthropologist, and previously he wrote a very good book called Images of the Wild Man in Southeast Asia, which was about wild men traditions all the way from Sri Lanka through Indonesia and Malaya. So the tropical Asian islands, basically. In this book, the follow-up, Between Ape and Human, he concentrates on the Indonesian island of Flores. Now, you may remember, Flores is where the hominin Homo florisiensis was discovered, unearthed in 1985, I believe, the first ones. Now, Gregory had been working with the Nage people in the west of the island, recording their beliefs, and before the discovery of Homo florisiensis, he had been told about the stories of the Ibu Gogo, the ancestor that eats everything. And these were a race of little hairy people that hunted with bamboo spears and made a general nuisance of themselves. They killed and stole livestock, and they stole crops of the Nage people. And according to their traditions, what they did was invite them to a party, get them drunk on palm wine, and when they went back to their cave where they lived, they blocked the entrances up with palm fibres and set fire to them and smoked them to death. And the tradition was that it happens a number of generations ago, but it coincided, the supposed age of the events coincided with a localised volcanic eruption. And when Homo florisiensis was discovered, Gregory Forth realised that it dovetailed very well with the descriptions of the Ibu Gogo. And he thought that maybe the Homo florisiensis had survived into modern times and there was a local extinction event due to this volcano going off. And the story of them being smoked to death in the mountain was a garbled account of this that has been mythologised over the years. But in this book, he concentrates mainly on the east of the island, the other end of the island of Flores, where a different group of people also have a tradition of wild men. And the thing is, many of them claim to have seen these creatures in recent years, within the last few years. And he talks to a lot of people, interviews a lot of people that have seen these things, and concludes that it's almost certain that Homo florisiensis or something like it is still existing in the very hard to access jungle swathed mountains of the east of the island of Flores. And this is from a guy who is a professional anthropologist.
Can we go back for a moment to the story of the cave and them being smoked to death?
Yeah.
Isn't this remarkably similar to a story from Ceylon about
The Nataweo.
Yes. Nitaweo?
Yeah. It's almost word for word the same story.
I'm sure I've heard the same story from somewhere else as well.
There's another tradition somewhere else where it's monkeys making a nuisance of themselves, and the local people get them drunk and smoke them to death. So it's a reoccurring motif. It's rather like with the bigger types of hominin, like the Yeti and the Sasquatch and so forth, where you get all these stories of them hybridising with human women. They kidnap a human woman, take her off, keep her for several years, and she has a hybrid child, and then she's rescued, and the child either dies or is torn to pieces by the hominin.
Well, we've heard stories like that from South America as well.
Yeah, anywhere you get these big relic hominins, you get these stories. With these smaller ones, you don't, but you do get the stories of them being smoked to death in caves.
I wonder, is the social mechanism by which these stories are spread that somewhere in the human psyche this is the most logical way to explain something? Because we're all one species, and which presumably means our brains are hardwired to react in the same way. Is this the mechanism by which these stories are spread, or was one of those stories true, and through Chinese or Indonesian whispers it spread all the way across what used to be Sunderland?
Well, we've already talked about the volcanic eruption, which may have been the genesis of the original story. But Forth is convinced that these creatures are real and that they're still there on Flores. They're quite distinct, by the way, from the orang pendek, which is bigger and more ape-like. We think is a ground-dwelling relative of the orangutans. These seem to be the genus Homo. The interesting thing about Homo florisiensis is that initially it was thought to be a dwarf island form of Homo erectus, but a recent examination of the bones, which were subfossil, seemed to suggest that it was a sister group to Homo habilis. So that was a hominin from Africa that was supposed to have died out 1.9 million years ago, and as far as we know had no lineage outside of Africa. But now it seems it did have a lineage, because not only is there Homo florisiensis, there's the recently discovered Homo luzonensis from the Philippines, which was very similar, another one of these small metre tall hominins. So it had at least two members of this lineage on the other side of the world. So it's half a world away and nearly 2 million years out of time. Now, if that can happen, what else can happen, and what else is out there?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is about it for this week. I'll be back on Saturday. And do you know what's going to be in Saturday's show? No, because neither do I. But I can promise you it'll be jolly exciting. So, until then, Lovely seeing you.